Open the gates.
Open the gates.
Open the gates. Release the Kraken. Do the whole thing.
Are we talking about me doing a cam show? Or
No,
yes, that is correct. That's exactly what we're talking about.
That's some OnlyFans material. So that
$15 a month. $15 a month.
I think people would pay good money to watch me and Kennedy make out. Okay.
That is correct.
On the ironic or semi-ironic political podcaster OnlyFans thing, because now J-Reg has done it. He has a semi-ironic OnlyFans. I mean,
Rara from Metro Atlanta DSA, who is a stripper as her primary job and a cam girl the rest of the time. She has an OnlyFans, and one of the things she actually does, which is great. We want to get her on the podcast. Rara, if you listen to the podcast, which I know you don't, please come on our podcast.
She always says she wants to come on every time.
I know, but she's busy as fuck. It's fine. The point I'm making is one of the things she started doing is ASMR videos where she just reads marks, which I think is fucking brilliant.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, Rara fucking rules, and I love her very much. Even though she doesn't listen to the podcast.
We're doing a plug of someone who nobody in our audience knows exists.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Isn't that like, what would you rather plug someone that everyone knows already?
True.
Yep. Everyone, please.
Who needs the plugs? You know what's funny and kind of
weird? I would like to plug Bernie Sanders. I don't know if you're
right. Bernie.
At Bernie Sanders, he's got some good takes sometimes.
Has anybody else gotten to the point where random people will just send you things because they're hoping you'll boost it?
Yeah.
No. Oh, yeah.
Is that like having fans is the weirdest thing, right?
It's bizarre.
It's so weird. I cannot wrap my mind around this idea that
I prefer air conditioning personally.
I like both. As a good Southern woman, I need to have a fan. And
I prefer the swamp cooler because I live in a dry climate. Air conditioning is expensive, but we can just blow cold water on ourselves.
We gotta
dry here.
We gotta talk about the ranch, because if the ranch is like you blowing cold water on yourself. Yes, we also need to talk about ranch dressing. It's canceled. So moving on from ranch dressing. It's over.
I'm with Brandon on this one.
I'm not a huge fan of ranch either. I like Italian.
Yes, vinegar-based.
We tried. Look, we tried to be tolerant. We tried legalizing ranch. It was a mistake.
Yep.
It's time for prohibition to return. No more.
I stand ranch. I think ranch is really fucking good.
Defund and
I'll be the one. I don't care.
I like buffalo ranch.
Defund Rachel.
No,
as I have been arguing loudly on the internet for the last 2 days, that shit's a half measure. The best you're gonna get is me 10% more shutting the fuck up.
Defund and abolish ranch dressing is just my opinion. Circa, what is your opinion on dressing? Because you've been just sitting here, and that avatar, you just look disturbed by whatever we say here.
That's an appropriate face.
It is. This also allows Circa to sleep on stream.
Oh, Circa she passed out is what happened. She
passed out.
She drank a whole bottle of ranch, fell asleep.
Yes, infamous for her love of ranch dressing.
All right, let's talk about Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
We could bullshit all day, but this is too spicy to just avoid forever. This is too wild. So Matt Gaetz was being racist in Congress. This is a pretty normal activity for him. And a black lawmaker was kind of like, you don't know what it's like to deal with these issues, basically. And,
right, which is like a really appropriate thing to say.
And also correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with it. So Matt
unveiled like Drake. He got Pusha T'd, and so now he's like,
is his full name Matthew?
Yes.
Can we call him Matthew?
Yes, we can call him whatever we want, really.
I feel like that's a little infantilizing, and I enjoy it.
He walked onto the floor of Congress, and he was like, I've got something to tell y'all about Matt Gaetz.
You are hiding a child.
Okay. Over under, actually his child from some affair.
Well, okay.
But
so I think
playing it off like not actually his child at home.
There's actually
lying on the internet.
this is such a crazy like conspiracy or mystery to talk about.
Back
There's
up
so many places it could
explain what happened, because we've got to explain it first. Then we
let me finish. Let me finish. So basically, Matt, kind of is like, are you saying that none of us have non-white children? Which isn't even like a direct response. You know how Republicans are. It's not even like really a direct response to what was being said to him. But he's like, are you saying none of us have raised non-white children? And everyone's kind of looking at him like, what are you talking about, Matt? And he got really indignant. And then after this congressional hearing, he gets on Twitter and he posts this kind of strange post about his non-biological adopted Cuban son, Nestor.
I'd like everybody to meet my son, Brandon. I've been his mother for 17 minutes now. He is the light in my life. He is the sun in my sky. I would die for him. I would kill for him. And now I understand the plight of the black man because I adopted Brandon 17 minutes ago.
Just for the record, I would do none of those things.
Just for the record, it's been a very awkward 17 minutes.
All right, so just to like add to the so Matt Gaetz maybe has an adopted son. That's not necessarily a super weird story, right? Like, could be just a pretty normal story. Okay, but here's the parts that make it weird. First of all, he has a lot of Twitter posts that refer to Nestor, but in weird ways. Like, look at this amazing house page I worked with, and that kind of stuff. So that's a bit odd, right? Like a
little strange. Definitely.
I will say though,
especially because the whole argument that he's making is that he was keeping Nestor out of the spotlight, but he wasn't keeping Nestor out of the spotlight per se. Nestor would appear in his videos and he'd say, "This is my helper, Nestor." Like, Nestor's clearly like associated with you. It's not really like, I don't think calling him your son puts him way more in the spotlight. Like, that's a bit of a strange.
So what I will say is,
understand. He said helper instead of child.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I want to provide some context to like what might have been going on there, because petite bourgeois culture and bourgeois culture is to ultimately create like nepotistic opportunities for your children. But people who have any political savvy at all recognize that nepotism is generally frowned upon. So like, for example, John and I run a community garden in this area, and whenever we're on like a call, we never at any point say like, yeah, that's my spouse, because you want to make it seem more like more participation than it actually is.
I just think when Ellie became the treasurer of that block, that it was a little bit awkward for some.
No,
people.
she can count. Listen, she can count all the way to 20 now. All the way to 20.
That's high enough. That's high enough.
And she always asks my permission before she spends my money. So.
There's never been more than $20 in the community garden fund, so she's set, right?
Good, yeah.
All right. So
look, we can keep it in a piggy bank. It's fine.
So, okay, here's what I want to. I do want to get out of the way, basically right away, that the most charitable reading of this is that Matt Gaetz did in some way adopt this kid. We'll get into that. And that he's been keeping him out of the public eye to keep the harsh glare of the spotlight off his child, or perhaps for nepotistic reasons. And that he chose this moment to finally like cash this thing he's been doing in for years for the woke points. Like he's been
I've got my woke points. Like, they've generated a annuity. I've got the interest rates. I went to Fifth Third for woke points, and I just got a bag. Poof, I'm dropping them in. I get one pass to own a black guy. I've been waiting for 15 years, baby, and I'm cashing my chips in.
It's like that Rick and Morty meme with the that people like you make it like, I've been nice to a woman this many times, or things like that. It's like I mentored this brown kid this many times, and therefore I can never be called racist again. Like, he's got his card and he's gonna play it.
He wasn't hiding his kid from the world. He was hiding the world from his kid. It's a totally different situation.
Now, in terms of less charitable readings, though, Matt Gaetz, this is where it really, in my opinion, gets a little sketchy. Matt Gaetz is not really a strong adoptive parent candidate. He has multiple DUIs, and he does not have a spouse. And putting those two things together, is like adoption agencies. I don't care how rich you are, they will kind of look at you like, I don't know. You know, you're gonna have to like. I mean, it's possible that he greased enough palms.
He is a congressman,
right? Like it's possible he greased enough palms and pulled enough levers to make it happen. But here's where it gets even one step a little weirder. People are not regularly adopted from Cuba. Okay, this is not a thing that happens very often. So there are very few cases of this. And so when you go looking for the records, you're not going to get confused about like not being able to find this record, because there aren't a lot of Cuban American adoptions, because we kind of don't fucking let people like interact with Cuba, right? Like, so it's very unusual. Okay. There is no record of any kind of adoption. So like, if this is some kind of thing, it might be very informal, and like the whole claiming of it, I don't know, the whole thing just seems, the more you look at it, it's like,
my mom had a best friend when I was like 10, and I would call her my auntie, but she wasn't really. Like, best case scenario, that's the relationship. Like, they go bowling and he buys them some Dairy Queen afterwards. But like, how formal was this relationship? Because you've got to wonder, is the kid calling Matt dad? Or is it a situation where Matt comes in to like this old ass kid, right? And it's like, listen, I need you to get on the front lines.
Do you think it's one of those things where he just said it jokingly like a shitload of times and decided to stretch it until it screamed for this specific occasion? You know, because like I know white women in like the circle I grew up in who refer to like their black, like my friends and like my brother's friends as like their black children. And it's, I mean, really weird. And I don't like think that's a healthy way to approach it in any capacity, but like it is sort of a normalized thing within that culture. And I wonder if it's like that, you know?
Circa, you're both a helper of this podcast and a child. So do you have a unique perspective in the intersection of being exploited and being boosted by a relationship with an older, established, predatory weirdo? How is that?
For example, this podcast.
Yeah.
No comment.
Okay,
I don't think I can answer that without disappointing my parents even further than I already.
All right, let's leave your life experience and let's just talk about this specific Matt Gaetz situation. Is it weird? You're from the South. You can talk about Southern people having weird relationships with calling people their kid because they adopted them. They go out for ice cream. Is that a weird thing, or is that drawing some eyebrows? What's happening?
I mean, in hindsight, it's fucking weird, but I mean, I grew up around white people that loved adopting brown babies and saying that they were like white saviors and shit. And then like, you know, getting rid of them once they actually had to like raise the kid or some shit. But I don't know whether to make heads or tails of this situation, because if he did adopt this child, who the fuck let a 27-year-old alcoholic adopt a child?
It's very true. But he's a congressman.
Actually, that story was redacted about him being a 27-year-old alcoholic when he adopted the child. He was a 32-year-old alcoholic.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how old he is. I was like 27.
Good Lord. But a congressman. You have it.
I mean, if you got enough money, you can buy a baby.
You can buy justice. Anywhere. Yeah. You can buy a grown baby. It's weird that he couldn't just buy a clue and stay out of this entire controversy, which nobody would even know about any of this shit happening at all. Like Republican congressmen saying weird presumptive shit and black Democrats yelling at, that's normal business in Washington. If he had not like escalated this situation by like telling the internet that he had a secret brown child, it would just be like, you know, nobody would have noticed or cared.
Yeah, it would have been like maybe like, you know, YouTubers would make fun of you for like approximately, you know, 6 hours, but then, you know, there's more important things going on. But I think that from what I understand, now keep in mind, all of my information on this has been from y'all. I have not heard of or read into this in any capacity. I was saving it. Yeah, it sounds pretty funny. I don't know. It sounds like it's really funny.
It is really fucking funny. People have been getting some really good dunks in.
Yeah, it's just, I don't understand, especially Matt Gaetz. He keeps doing this stuff. Like, he did the gas mask thing like a couple months ago and made himself look like a jackass. I don't understand what this, like, is this like his way to like get national media attention? Is he going to run for president?
Yes, I think he's following the Trump playbook specifically, which is just to be absolutely absurd and outrageous.
Donald Trump would never adopt a brown child of any race.
No, but he would pull that kind of stunt.
You got to keep in mind the Bushes. The Bushes are also experts at the white savior thing.
Correct.
With good old Prescott.
Yeah, and also Jeb married a Latina. But I thought that's a different situation. He never
shuts the fuck up about it.
Jeb has moderated his views.
You know, he is a person of very special need that, you know, has never fully been addressed by this country. He needs to be president. Okay. He was born with a deficiency of not being president enough. And, you know,
it's not
we
over
have
for
to respect
Jeb.
that.
I wish we had Jeb instead of George. Like, I don't know if I can do a third Bush, but like, you know, Jeb instead of George would have been pretty fun.
No, also would have been fun. No Bushes.
That also would have been pretty good.
The very insightful, one of our favorites, Poop Smoke. I feel like you're usually on Twitch, and now you're coming to Periscope in order to like give yourself more credibility. You are all mistaken. The left is pro-establishment.
Yeah, I was frowning at that one earlier.
I mean,
what is that?
I mean, the liberals are pro-establishment. I don't know what members of the left are. The actual left.
You know, people like this can't differentiate between libs and actual like progressive left-wing politics.
They think like Bernie and Hillary are roughly the same. They think like Rahm Emanuel and Bernie Sanders are all like
they're like the same.
Hit or miss.
They hang out. The right to a degree, but not as wild. It's good. You know, I think about it sometimes. I think about looking for sensible, considered, reasonable voices on the right wing. They're hard to find, but Poop Smoke. If you've got views, I always love hearing reasonable, fair, firm views from conservative voices on the show. So Poop Smoke, if you've got anything, let us. Okay, Poop Smoke.
Poop Smoke, if you have any meaningful thoughts of any kind, let us know.
0 to 60 right there.
I wish you.
Poop Smoke hashtag Obamagate. You're not hitting it.
I wish you the best of luck in hopefully having one of those moments where you have a clear, rational, and concise thought that you can present.
Yeah,
I hope we can share that moment with you when it comes.
Yeah, I hope that you have a nice, firm poop and as little smoke comes out as possible afterwards. If you're going to have babies, I would say that you're committed. Well, Morisaki, I mean, listen, they're adopted. It's not like Matt gave birth to them. Now, if you're talking about Jeb, then yes, I kind of give Jeb somewhat of a pass on his like somewhat weird pandery. I mean, he got married, he had kids, so I let Jeb slide with all of that weird shit.
Look,
I
say often that we elected the wrong person in 2016. We missed out our chance to have Jeb, folks.
Yeah, we could. If Lau was here, we would get the meme with Jeb just stretching his arms out across the country, and it's not quite happening. Ian Rager chiming in. Mao,
like LMAO?
Yeah, exactly. We're pro Mao. Mao Zedong. I mean, more complicated of an issue, but LMAO, yes, we love Mao.
I will confirm that Mao existed.
Yes,
probably.
Mao was a person.
Thank you for that confirmation. I wasn't sure. I was not aware of that, but now that it's officially been confirmed, I feel a lot more safe.
Oh God, Lil Mao has bars.
Lil Mao has bars.
Oh, what's happening? Oh, there we go.
Oh yes.
Jeff Worldwide.
Yes.
We love to see it. We love
Yes.
to see it. Please clap, world. Please clap. Circa, do you have any thoughts on Mao, Jeb Bush, any of this? Sometimes we leave you behind because we're such motor mouths.
That is correct.
I mean, I have a lot of views on a lot of those things, but I'm not sure you'd appreciate them on live stream. But
please do not get us banned from everything.
Yeah. Apparently that's bad. Think if we were to get banned from everything, it's sweet peace. So as long as you do not, if you can articulate your views about the Bush family without directly threatening them with death.
We want to be just aggravating enough that the National Review eventually writes an article about us.
Right.
But not so much that we get banned. So that's your limitation, Circa. Go.
Go hard. Go in the paint. Get in there.
I mean, it's not a secret what I think of the Bush family. And I think Jeb Bush, though he is a special boy, he still falls under that umbrella of a complete fucking monster.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know what? Jeb Bush is he's an interesting character, and he is not quite as bad as his daddy or his brother.
But it's also really bad.
It's very bad.
Really bad.
Damning with faint praises.
Yeah. He's a meme, and he's a fun meme, but don't let the memes get too confusing.
It's like when everybody was memeing Joe Biden. You know, like in retrospect, that was a fucking mistake.
Nobody thought. I mean, that was a very weird toss of the Plinko board that this person who's like clearly out of it, like got elected vice president. That's like a weird black swan. Not quite a black swan. I mean, he was polling well for a lot of that time, but just weird, just really weird. Yahya Khan, did Bush do 9/11? Circa, go.
I think he was flying the plane personally. That's not a joke. I'm serious. No, I'm just kidding.
One of the many clones.
Yes. George W. Bush is like Emperor Palpatine. There's like one of them in a vat.
At all times, yeah.
He's got like a secret basement where he's got little clones of himself in test tubes. And he chooses some unfortunate woman to bring them forth into the world.
And every time he dies valiantly in battle to the service of this, our beautiful nation, the United States of America, they just spin up another clone and don't tell anybody it happened. And it's fine.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Any major world tragedy or like massive attack on a large and established nation is not the work of one person. This is not a conspiracy that one person dreamt up and then like implemented,
even like a small group,
or even like a conspiracy that was dreamt up quickly. It was something that, you know, a lot of people had hands in, and basically like it's not necessarily a conspiracy in the sense that like we like to think of like a smoky room with somebody making the call. This is how 9/11's gonna go down. You know, it's like George Bush and Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld sitting around a table, right? Like that's not how it went down. We started funding Al Qaeda as CIA forever ago. You know, CIA has been like, you know, you want to talk about are our handprints, you know, is the bloody handprints of America all over 9/11? Is it something that we could arguably say we brought upon ourselves in the sense that like our terrible foreign policy is going to produce results, and those results are going to be negative?
I have a very hot take, and my hot take is it's not possible that George W. Bush would have been involved in 9/11 because no intelligent, rational actor would have predicted the degree to which the Democrats would have surrendered power to him. There's no rational person that would have said, and we'll have a 90% approval rating after the destruction on American soil. We will be given full political control and carte blanche to do what we want. I mean, you have to have a very low opinion of the Democrats. They'll just give us everything. Yeah, they will. That would never get out of a meeting with like Colin Powell and Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, who are all like Machiavellian people. They would think, oh, the Democrats will be attacking us the day after. They will blame us for this incident. There will be an endangerment of us being forced to resign. It will be a very big political hit for us. And our presidency will be doomed. No one could have imagined how obsequious the Democratic Party would be. So therefore, it's not a good conspiracy at all.
I think George H.W. Bush did it.
So I've done a lot of reading into 9/11, and if anyone were to like break into my house, they'd have the complete 9/11 report right by the Encyclopedia of Witchcraft, and then the Communist Manifesto right beside that. So if the feds were to ever show up at my house, I'd be in some trouble.
You're done. Yeah.
But I've done a lot of research into it, and he did not do it, but people before him and even the Bush administration had warnings that something like this was going to happen. So while I think that saying that he did it is fucking stupid and you need to leave middle school, it's not true, but he certainly could have done a lot more to prevent it. And that may have come down to them just assuming that they were just going to call the bluff and nobody was actually going to do it. But he certainly did take advantage of it to further his political and financial situation.
Can we rewind and talk about witchcraft? Because you ain't never talked about that on this show.
I'm backing that up.
Well,
are you interested in the hexing economy? Is that something you're going for?
Well, I mean, my CIA handlers wants me to be capable of talking about all sorts of things.
Yeah, I do. This is my weirdest conspiracy theory. I do believe that there is a department inside the government that does witchcraft.
Well, they have studied things like that, but it's mostly just like science fiction type shit.
There's a massive budget. There has to be some people in the CIA that are doing counter hexes. Even if it doesn't work, they're doing it because they want to cover all potential ends. So they've got some people that are just in the building just doing that for like 6 hours a day.
That sounds like a good job.
Literally, we know about MK Ultra. I mean, like the
what
CIA.
Don't we know about?
Like the shit that we know that the CIA has done in terms of weird ass programs. They were literally trying to like take enough acid to do telepathy or something, like fucking like if we're willing to do that, you bet your ass it's probably a tiny department in the basement of some building, but it's there, you know. It's some literal X-Files shit. It's like 3 nerds in a basement, but they're down there right now with some spell books like.
And they're listening to this show.
And they're listening to this show.
They know what's up. We're on to them now.
And witches.
I suggest running immediately.
Witches, you're on notice. Tell the truth. You miss W. Scrunchy face, smiley face. A weird kind of deal here.
No one misses W.
I'm 24 years old, so
nobody misses W.
I don't have a dog in this fight.
I literally prefer Trump to George W. Bush. If I got to pick, I'd reelect Trump to another term before bringing the Bush crew back. So
also, you can't travel backwards in time, folks. Like let's
that attitude you can't.
Let's just like a lot of times people talk about politics like there's these places that we could return to or whatever. No, politics is what it is today. And we're never, if you think Bush was good or bad, it doesn't matter because he's never coming back. It's over. That era is gone, and we're going to deal with whatever we're dealing with now, which is going to be fucking Tom Cotton in 2024. Watch your fucking asses.
Everybody's favorite.
Government witches, you're on notice. We've got I feel like eventually we'll get the good witches to outweigh the government witches, and they will have some kind of justice. Maybe they've been working on this Black Lives Matter shit. We don't know. It's all an invisible war behind the scenes.
I just want to say we're trying to roll out some merch to go with episode 100, and government
witches, you're on notice. Ooh.
It's gonna be a shirt. Let me just tell you something.
That's
government
a great.
Witches are on notice needs to be a shirt.
It does.
With like a really cop looking witch, with a big cross. No, like
that's actually confirmed. 100% confirmed.
Absolutely, I will be the first one to wear it. In fact,
do I get this for free?
Andrea, yes, you will get one for free.
I'm in support.
Rabbit bunnies, no. These are going to be union shirts, rabbit bunnies. The profit margins are already going to be very, very low. The printer will probably be taking the vast majority of the money here. So we'll talk about it. You might get a shirt. We'll talk about it. I'll send you some meat, some Christmas meat. Think about it.
Meat cubes.
Yeah. I will make sure you get the shirt, rabbit bunnies.
Government witches are on notice. I'm just really liking in my mind imagining this cop witch hybrid that's going to be on the shirt.
Cop witch.
Cop witch.
That's like the next thing on like TNN or something. Like,
I mean, if we ain't careful, J.K. Rowling's gonna show up.
Oh no! Harry and Hermione will show up as the cop witches. That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, didn't we scientifically determine at one point that Pete Buttigieg was the one who's most likely to do Harry Potter cosplay? And he's definitely a cop, so.
Yeah. I'm sure that like when Pete Buttigieg is president in like 2040 or something, that's going to be like the scandal that comes out, like him dressed up as like fucking Harry Potter or something.
You are under.
He makes his entire cabinet dress like their what is it? Their Hogwarts.
Hogwarts.
Yeah.
What it is before he appoints you to cabinet, you have to take up the Pottermore test, and then he gives you a scarf with your house colors.
Yeah, and if you're a Slytherin, he just fires you on the spot.
No, if you're a Slytherin, you get on the National Security Council. Yeah,
that's probably true.
Department of Housing with Department of Housing, you know.
No, because it's true now. Because you spoke that shit into being with chaos magic, and you are the witches in the government now, and I will never forgive you.
The government witches, they come in.
Wait, are we the government witches? Was it us all along?
I think so.
Maybe.
Fuck.
I
did make one of my New Year's resolutions to dress like Stevie Nicks.
Yeah, I think that if J.K. Rowling's in charge of these witches, they just go and try to arrest people for being trans and happy. So if you guys can infiltrate, then you could find something else to do. Don't worry, Andrea, you're never happy. So
that's true, actually.
He won't be coming after you at all. He'll be fine.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, radical.
They knock on Andrea's door and she just answers like, "What?"
Never mind.
They also come to lay us out. What?
That's normally what I do.
They just. No one wants your COVID meat. You know, I hear that in the club all the time. I'm gonna keep selling it. Somebody's gonna buy one. Don't you worry.
I mean, you have to keep in mind 19% of Americans have put bleach on food to fight coronavirus. So there's a market out there.
19%?
19%, yeah.
No.
Red states.
Yes. God.
I did hear from a friend that lives in a very conservative place, not in a state that you would think of as conservative, but in a very conservative part of a state.
I think of every state as conservative. What do you mean?
Yeah, but I'm talking about, from general perception. He's in a state that you would think of as a blue state, but he's in one of those parts of the state that's not blue at all. And he, right after like the Trump bleach thing went down, he was at the store and they were just out of bleach, and he was like, "Oh God, oh my God, they bought all the bleach. The conservatives actually came here and bought all the bleach."
I believe it. That sounds fucking very plausible.
See, and that's like, there's just a dedicated like 20 to 30% of American people who believe in Donald Trump so blindly that if he literally told them to kill themselves, they would do it, like as part of a weird death cult thing. Like he's some kind of fucking minor deity who can control the weather or some shit. Like, it's so fucking disheartening. And then people keep trying to court like the farthest to the left of those people, and it's like, that's not gonna happen, it's just mind-blowing.
They're chasing a high. They're chasing the high they're getting with Trump. And they're
I hate everything about it.
More bleach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
QAnon is going to be amazing to follow. Like in the coming years, we're going to have our first QAnon member of Congress pretty soon here, and I'm looking forward to it.
They're gonna inhale the bleach until they can see Trump in their living room.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it's only gonna get worse. It's only gonna get worse and weirder.
QAnon is such a thing. We really don't talk about that enough, I feel sometimes, because like I think it's our minds when we joked about it early on in the show. I think we kind of thought by now that it would have died down a little more.
Yeah. Right. And now I'm seeing like bumper stickers everywhere.
It's literally, it's like, this is the post-Trump faction of the Republican base. This is it. Like when Trump leaves, QAnon is going to remain there.
Like, remember how the Tea Party appeared, you know, because of Bush in effect?
Definitely.
Like the most extreme parts of Bush's fan base made the Tea Party, right? In response to like people trying to like do things against the Bush way of doing things. And those Tea Partiers fucked up our government so hard. I mean, our government was fucked when they got there, but like there's fucked like hey, we need to put some new wallpaper up and like clean the floors in here and, you know, like kind of like get our shit together. And then there's fucked like the house is now on fire. And it was like after the Tea Party rolled in, it was like now there's fires in the house. And like when when these fucking Q people fucking when these fucking Q people are like you know, doing their shit to the government next, it's gonna be so much worse.
It's gonna be amazing. Oh, I can't wait.
Like everything you remember about, oh my God, the Tea Party, they were so crazy, they screwed up everything. It's going to be so much worse than that.
The evangelicals will be replaced by Q, basically.
Q evangelicals.
Evangelicals.
The first time I noticed that Q was a legitimate phenomenon is when I was walking around town and I heard people at a bus stop talking about it in 2018.
Damn.
And I was like, and I knew what it was, and I was like, what? And then ever since then, it's only it's getting more and more, and it's like, that's,
There's a right-wing Twitch that's doing this right now, except instead of Q, they're talking about intersectionality. And they're like, I didn't know, I thought it was just on social media, but I went to we're talking about how racism was real. Now I'm just confused. I don't know what to do anymore.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
What would it take for you to question your beliefs in the same way those people are doing now? Like, how fundamentally would the world have to change before you'd be like, maybe I was wrong about this?
On Q?
Like, just your own worldview, right? Like, the people who are having, like, that meltdown right now because, like, suddenly they're seeing racism.
Well, first of all,
I mean, I already had that.
Yeah, I mean,
you've been there. You've done that.
I think if we're on the left, we've been there, right? Like,
like what I'm talking about is like where you're at now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean,
not specifically racism, but just like what bullshit, deeply held beliefs do you think we have?
Probably an extreme change to my material circumstances, because none of us are morally infallible. So I'm trying to think of what would change my moral perspective. So it would have to be a completely different social circle and completely different material circumstances, and something would have to happen to where I don't know what would make me
like pro-capitalism.
Yeah, but what would make me believe in QAnon is weirder. Like, what would happen to I don't know what would happen.
Maybe if you fell and hit your head really hard.
I think if I did enough drugs, I think I might believe in it.
No, I think for me, I would say that like my personal perception is, I think not for everyone, obviously, but for a lot of people, some of their wildest beliefs are kind of trauma informed. So maybe if I had like a specific trauma that happened to me, where something, you know, really bad happened to me personally, or like somebody that I know, and I, you know, like, and in some way I could like link that to the QAnon conspiracy, and like, especially like, I think a lot of people that end up in some of these conspiracies, they've been pushed away from other places for some reason. So like, if my trauma was causing me in some way to sort of like struggle to find like relationships of like people who understood, but then these like grifters told me, oh, we understand, which is what they do, right? Like that's their whole thing. Whatever your problem is, these type of grifters, it doesn't matter what your problem is. When you come to them and you say, I have problems, my life has problems, blah, blah. They say, we understand, we have the answers. And it doesn't matter what your problem is, but the point is like, this is like a common way to kind of end up in that situation. So I think it's like, let's say that like my, someone in my family was actually like murdered in an anti-white hate crime, right? Like me personally, I still don't think I would still just be like, the world's a complicated place and it would be whatever. But I could see how somebody could end up like kind of push towards those beliefs if like they actually had experienced one of those freak events that like almost never occurs but occasionally occurs. You know what I mean? Like, but that's like about it. That I can't imagine a more rational route that gets me there. It has to be something so extreme like that, just so unusual.
Yeah.
Is there a relationship like if there was somebody really hot and you were like dating them and they were like, and they were like, all right, listen, we've been getting along really great for 2 months. And I know you by now, you're going to freak out. They grab your hand. Listen, don't freak out, but I'm just going to tell you, QAnon is real. Wait, okay. QAnon is fucking real. Then they show you the fucking documents and you're like, all right, to what degree am I going to pretend to play along with this?
That's actually a pretty good question.
My personal policy,
I could lie though.
My personal policy is like I think that there are tons of hot people out there. I think that dating is not as impossible as some people make it seem. I think
it's really bad.
Love is not as scarce as some people think it is. And so if somebody was like, I don't care who you are, if somebody starts spouting that stuff at me, that's a relationship ender. I have ended relationships for like, crazy beliefs before. So I have no problem saying that I would do that because I have.
I like playing things out, just like listening to it. Like I liked stringing people along if they say stupid shit, just to like listen to them say even more stupid shit, because that's how I learn how these people operate. So if that ever were to happen, I would just treat it like a psyop. Like I'm just in there, I'm collecting intel,
If a hot person grabs your hand and they're like, who is real? Andrea's like, this is content.
Exactly.
Shit.
I just feel like at the end of the day, like I can't fuck somebody I don't respect, And like I would lose so much respect for them in that moment that I don't think it would be possible to salvage anything.
I don't think I'm out. I would just laugh. I wouldn't be able to do anything without.
I assume that they were joking or something. Like, oh no, you're fucking with me.
Seriously.
And Rachel, would you fuck No Namely?
No.
Don't you worry about Rachel. You can call me No Namely. We'll work this out. It's good to see one person.
I love the spicy Orville takes. I didn't really talk about this that much on the podcast app because there was so much to talk about. I'm a little in the middle of this issue in terms of like the Orville is not amazing, but I think a lot of people give it more shit than it deserves, and it's actually like a pretty loving recreation of Star Trek ideas in a lot of ways, and it's in some ways better than some of the modern Star Treks that have
easily better than the modern ones. I don't even think that's.
Listen, I don't have any beef with the Orville at all. I just, like I said,
to get that controversial.
So are we not talking about the brand of popcorn? Because I'm lost here.
No, it's a
Orville. What, Redenbacher?
Orville Redenbacher is the best popcorn ever.
That is correct.
Debatable.
Interesting.
It's pretty fucking good.
Hey, what, you're going to talk about Pop Secret? What do you got?
All right. Look, we got to record. We got to record with Janos the 15 minutes. So we're going to have to start wrapping this up.
Okay, that's fine.
Can we spend the last 10 minutes talking about aliens?
Yeah,
that's the left version of QAnon, or aliens?
I think aliens are right wing. I don't know, what is the left version?
I think aliens are non-political.
There's like a lot of people who are into like crystals.
Stop making aliens political.
Aliens are very political. If an alien civilization gets to the point where they can interact with us, they have had to have created some sort of peace on their own planet. That's my hypothesis.
I mean, peace is a very broad. I think an
that
alien
or they've killed everyone. I mean, who
okay.
knows?
I have the answer, by the way. Our equivalent of QAnon on the left is the Green Party.
Oh Lord!
No, it's just Russiagate in general.
No, it is. It's Russiagate.
Russia like, because it's something that, first of all, not just libs, but unfortunately some like actual left wing people do. And second of all, so it's definitely something that applies to all of us. Like, we're not immune from Russiagate just because we're progressives the way that we're immune from some
I would
other
like to
lib
say,
shit.
interacting with some people on Twitter, I think Russian bots, that's totally real. Like, I can't understand how some of these motherfuckers say the shit that they say. It has to be a bot. Like, otherwise, like, this whole project that I'm on, like, trying to, like, oh, when I say things like all human life is valuable, like, sometimes going on Twitter, it really makes me rethink that. So I'd rather believe in Russian bots than go back and say maybe all human life isn't valuable. I don't know. So I'm just going to use the Band-Aid of Russia.
Circa, do you believe in Russian bots? Do you believe in Russian interference? I mean, I believe that there was some Russian interference. I don't know. The degree is probably overstated, though.
I mean, I think there's been, international interference since every single election since, like, 1940. What was it? The 40s.
Oh, you got to go way further, actually.
Just ever.
I mean, that I can directly prove.
Yeah.
Just like,
just ever.
But I think since the U.S. does that, and essentially every other country on this planet, they've admitted to doing it as far back as like Germany, and God knows they do it in the Middle East and Africa. But that's just, I wouldn't exactly call that interference so much as an invasion. But
I mean, Bolivia's the greatest example here that we can use in recent politics. Mm-hmm. All the Democrats that were like, oh, let's, like.
I mentioned
I hope the paychecks are good on that one. Jesus.
I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to keep saying it because it's so fucked up. Bolivia is 6 months without that election that they were supposed to have. Evo Morales was supposedly removed from office because
they needed free and fair and democratic elections.
Uncorrupt elections. And now they have an unelected leader who has still refused to hold elections, has not made it clear when elections will be held, keeps putting it off. And by the time she even has elections, like, assuming that she even does ever, but by the time she even has an election, like, she's going to have rigged the entire system. That's what they're working on right now. That's what her party is working on right now, is rigging the entire system for their party so that even if they do, quote unquote, hold an election, like if they'd held an election right away, it might have been a little different. But now it's like they're going to have rigged the entire game by the time this even happens. It's fucking ridiculous. Where is the outrage by all those fucking people? Where is it? I want to fucking know.
I'd rather believe they're Russian bots. I think Pete Buttigieg is a Russian bot. I think that's extremely likely. And it's way easier. It's way easier to think that, like, they're just a robot rather than a human being who's making these calculated decisions. And also is like, oh, I love empathy. I'm an empathetic person. I love you. And it's like, meanwhile, it's just, I would rather believe they're a robot. That's just me personally. Or an alien.
Circa, can you give your thoughts on Bolivia and robots and all of this? Take us home. Figure it out.
Yeah, take us home.
I'm already home.
The election in Bolivia, or the lack thereof, has proven that an election, just saying that it's a democratic country doesn't mean that democracy is going to be carried out. It's like with empathy. If you got to say you're an empathetic person, then that casts doubt onto whether or not you're actually capable of, showing empathy. But it's frightening, and it is extremely worrisome that we have people in this country who are screaming about Venezuela being undemocratic, but are completely silent when it comes to a far right-wing leader in Bolivia who is doing these things that, people in the U.S. and in Venezuela and other countries around the world are threatening to do. And it really shows that these people do not care about democracy so much as it is furthering their political beliefs. And I think we're going to see more and more of that as time goes on, because with the advent of the internet, we've got more and more people seeing that other people think this, so they're not so afraid to say it. And I think that sets a very dangerous precedent for countries that claim to be more first world, like the US or the UK or, all of Europe. And I think we need to watch the situation way closer than we are, because just like how, in the right wing thinks that this isn't going to come back to bite them in the ass, they don't seem to realize that this won't always be their candidate of choice. And eventually they're going to get somebody that they don't like, and they're as far up shit creek as the rest of us.
Well, I think it's also really important to just sort of broadly contextualize what we're talking about here, because we're talking about these things happening outside of our borders, but it is not only outside of our borders that this kind of election tampering is happening, right? We are doing this to ourselves as well. And like you were saying, Circa, right now we have practically the same economic conditions as the Weimar Republic did right before Nazis took power. Like, it's a very one-to-one comparison for how these things happen. So I would not take for granted that we're even going to have elections in November, frankly. Like, we had a completely failed one in Georgia for, our primary back on June 9th. And I mean, I have no reason to believe that we are not primed to do exactly the same thing here,
Well, we could keep going forever.
And maybe that's my big conspiracy. Maybe that's what my big conspiracy theory is, that we're just not going to have elections in November anyway.
I think we will have an election, but it will not be in any capacity legitimate.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't believe any elections we've ever had in this country have been legitimate, to be honest. But
we're going to have to
identify the word legitimate.
This election talk on Monday.
We will.
When we come back at 4 Eastern with yet another stream. If you're watching right now and you're like, gosh, I sure would love some more Not Safe for Wonks content. We released a podcast episode today. It's with Corey Archibald from Brand New Congress. It's about Star Trek. It's so cool. It's like one of the funniest.
It's one of our best episodes. Yeah.
Best episodes ever. Period.
We are going to get Corey to do like a series with us where we just talk Star Trek for sure.
We had so much fun doing this that we were like, we have to do this again. And then we've been telling other people about the Star Trek episode. They're like, I want to do a Star Trek. It's going to be a whole thing. So
I've never seen Star Trek.
You should. It's really good.
I haven't.
Some people who, if you like the Orville, you might like Star Trek.
I've never heard of either of them. Do I like the popcorn? Is there a
that's good enough
comparison?
That's good enough too.
We'll see you later.